So hi there guys, another day and another lesson for us to learn all about globalization. But this time, we're going to tackle about what is the role of media in globalization. So I hope guys that by the end of this discussion or about this video, you'll learn that media is not just media itself because it has an importance on globalization, and we will also know what is the impact of each media to globalization. Okay? Okay. So let us have a brief history about this media and globalization. So before 1990s, a mainstream media system in most countries of the world were relatively national in scope. Since then, most communications and media have become increasingly global, extending their reach beyond the nation state to conquer audiences worldwide. International flows of information have been assisted by the development of global capitalism, new technologies, and the increasing commercialization of global television, which has occurred as a consequence of the deregulation of policies adopted by the various countries in Europe and in the United States in order to permit the proliferation of cable and satellite channels. Let us start with the international news broadcast. Globalization has a direct impact on global communication, which aids in the growth of the business possibilities, the elimination of cultural divides, and the growth of the globalized world. Globalization and global communication do have an impact on the world's environmental, cultural, political, and economic elements. International news broadcasts are used to spread a country's and policies' influence. This could take the form of information gathering, but it's far more likely to take the form of what the political scientists refer to as a soft power, the use of constructive relationship building events, institutions, and other forms of interaction. So, television programming. Television is a medium that enhances the world, stimulates the imagination, inspires curiosity, promotes education, and brings millions of people together around shared interests. Millions of skilled workers are employed globally in the global media industry, of which television is a major component. Furthermore, commercial television's success as an advertising medium generates revenue that can be reinvested in even more excellent programming for audiences, thus helps improve the economy of the nation that would eventually lead to globalization. New technologies. Technological advances lower the cost of transportation and communication between countries, making global sourcing of raw materials and other inputs easier. Patented technology promotes globalization because the company that owns the patent will profit from foreign markets with little competition. Technology has allowed software experts to collaborate with companies all over the world through the internet. The pace of innovation has aided regularly or greatly in the creation and expansion of the global market. Film. Film is regarded as a significant art form, a popular source of entertainment, and a potent tool for educating or indoctrinating citizens. Film has a universal power of communication due to its visual foundation. They have the potential to boost the economy, inspire people, and broaden our understanding of the world around us, making it an effective way to communicate across borders. Music. Global pop music's interaction transcends cultural and economic barriers. To put it another way, globalization opens up a new opportunities for the pop music industry to expand its global market and profit handsomely. A thriving industry also attracts highly skilled young workers from all sectors who value quality of life. As a result, business investment is attracted.
So, good morning guys, I'm Engine Cadet Pipito, and for today's discussions about the pros and cons of social media and globalizations. So let's start it. So the contents for my PowerPoint presentation right now is to answer what is globalization, what is social media, types of social media site, classification of social media, the pros and cons of social media and globalization, tools required for social media globalization, and lastly, the impact of social media and globalizations on each other. So let's start it. So first, let's us define what is globalization. Basically, globalization is the process by which businesses or other organizations develop international influence or start operating on an international scale. Yes, that's its correct definition stated here. So next is what is social media? Creating, sharing, or exchanging of informations and ideas in virtual communities and network among people is known as social media. Yes, that's right. Uh, these are the famous type of social media websites that we have here. We mainly use the Facebook, the Twitter, the LinkedIn, Pinterest, and the Google Plus. So actually, for my discussion is about media pros and cons of media globalizations, and among the type of media is I'm gonna focus here the social media because it's widely used nowadays, right? Yes. So let's continue. Classification of social media. Collaborative projects, for example, Wikipedia, blogs and microblogs, for example, Twitter and Tumblr. Content communities, for example, YouTube and Dailymotion. Social networking sites, for example, Facebook, yes. Virtual game worlds, World of Warcraft, virtual social worlds, Second Lives, and that's it. So we have here the pros of and cons of social media. The first is increased criminal persecution because of social media. Social networking creates new social connections. Students are doing better in school. That's the pros. Better quality of life. Social media as a source of employment. Yes, that's right. It's because many of us making money through social medias. Go for the cons or the negative sides. Social media and the news, because most of the time right now is we receive many fake news because of social media. Too, yes, that's this is what I'm trying to say. Too much misinformation. Next is pupils spending too much time on social media sites have lower academic grade. Social media sites to blame for lost productivity, and social media is the cause. Excuse me. Social media is the cause for less face-to-face communication. Yes, because we are now or in dealing with social medias, we will try to engage in a virtual world like what we have right now, the online classes. Next is tools required for social media globalization. Actually, social media depend on mobile and web-based technologies to create highly interactive platforms through which individuals and communities share, co-recreate, discuss, and modify user-generated content. They introduce substantial pervasive changes to communications between organizations, communities, and individuals. Impact of social media and globalization on each other. First, it is crucial to increase the civic and political participation during the process of globalization. Social media networking tools have been one of the most effective tools to direct political elections and social changes. Advantage of new media tools. Easier to participate in political organizations, demonstrations, and gatherings, whether in person or with ideas spreading through internet. It has become a tool that democracy and human rights activists organize real virtual demonstrations for political, social, and economic reforms. Freedom of speech is among the rights that each person should have regardless of his race, religions, and gender, social institution. And lastly is entertainment and peace building of conflict management. And before I want to end my discussion about these topics, I just want to share you my personal analysis about this topic. Actually, globalization does have problems and its effects, and it's not going to disappear. But other than that, we must learn how to appreciate and react its benefits. In order to do that, we must learn how to do simple things, work to understand and work to understand the effects, the impacts, and the benefits of it. Work to remedy the problems, and last thing for sure is work to spread the benefits as wide as possible. I hope all things clear right now and hope you understand my discussions. And that's all. Thank you.
Hello guys, we are here to talk about the media and globalization, and also to answer the question, is there a globalization without media? So let us start. So what is media? Media in general refers to various means of communication. For example, television, radio, and the newspaper are different types of media. The term can also be used as collective noun for the press or news reporting agencies. In the computer world, media is also used as a collective noun but refers to different types of data storage options. So there are two types of media. So the first one is the print media. Examples are newspapers, magazine, and journals. Next is the second type is electronic media, which is radio, television, films, and news media. Globalization describes the process by which regional economies, societies, and cultures have become integrated through a global network of political ideas through communication, transportation, and trade. The term also refers to the transnational circulation of ideas, languages, and popular culture. Globalization refers to the growing interconnectedness of different parts of the world, a process which gives rise to complex forms of interactions and interdependency. Definitions. The United Nations, ISQA, has written that globalization is a wisely used term that can be defined in a number of ways. When used in an economic context, it refers to the reduction and removal of barriers between national borders in order to facilitate flow of goods, capital, services, labor, etc. The International Monetary Fund defines a globalization as the growing economic interdependence of countries worldwide through increasing volume and variety of cross-border transactions in goods and services. The elimination of state-enforced restrictions on exchanges across borders are the increasingly integrated and complex global system of production and exchange that has emerged as a result, according to Tom G. Palmer. What role do the media play in the rush towards globalization? To some, globalization means the transfer of ideas and culture from developed West to the underdeveloped world, resulting in a homogenization of consumerist culture across borders that threatens to disrupt and permanently alter indigenous values. Yet others might suggest that the flow of ideas occurs in multiple directions, resulting in less homogenization and more diversification of ideas and lifestyles. Even these general models mask the true depth and complexity of the global reach of media. What is certain is that globalization has greatly expanded the importance of what information lies within the public sphere, and the sharing of what information will undoubtedly continue to have an effect both on the lives of private individuals vis-a-vis their vice versa their relationships with each other and the nation to states they live in. Continuation. Most theorists agree that there is practically no globalization without media and communications, as many of the definitions of globalization at least indirectly acknowledge. The role of media and communication is, of course, obvious in globalization theories, but is not necessarily visible. This causes problems in two ways. First, the role of media and communications in globalization theories remain vague and unspecified. Secondly, media studies miss the big picture of globalization and have been contributing little to the theoretical discussions on globalizations. The media is basically dominated by five major companies. They are First is the Time Warner, Viacom, Vivendi Universal, Walt Disney, News Corp. News Corp. These five companies own 95% of all the media that we get every day. They own the major entertainment, theme parks, entertainment movie studios, televisions, and radio broadcast networks, and programming, video news, and sport entertainment. Next is how media influence. So, for example, after the attack of the 9/11, the media gave a huge coverage of the event and exposed Osama guilty for the attack as they were told by the authorities. This shaped public opinion to support the war on terrorism. The same happened with the war on Iraq. The problem is that the media received accurate information, then the public opinion supported a wrong cause. This is the power of public opinion influence. Effects of violence in the media. When we watch TV or a movie, we usually see many images of violence and people hurting others. The problem with this is that it can become traumatic, especially in our children, as we see it more and more. Our kids that are starting to grow and are shaping their personality, values, and beliefs can become aggressive, or they can lose a sense of reality and fiction of what they are seeing. So, in conclusion, there are practically no globalization without media and communications. So that's it. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. So, my name is Engine Cadet Jundrik Paray. So, I am here to discuss about the answer to this question. Is media globalization a form of cultural imperialism? So, let's start. For the introduction, as we all know, the phenomenon of media globalization, along with the increasing abundance of media text production, has produced various effects on local cultures. Moreover, media globalization includes television, radio, film, music, the internet, and other forms of digital media. So, therefore, in this presentation, we will focus on the cultural effects of media globalization, and to continue, we will need to examine the topic of globalization on the perspective of media, and who are the actors behind media globalization. So, the actors behind media globalization are the multinational corporations, and they are responsible in the production and distribution of information worldwide. According to Benjamin Compain on 2005, there are a list of 9 global corporations that represent a variety of nations, which are known as the major players behind media globalization. So, according to Benjamin Compain, in the 21st century, the major players behind media globalization are corporations from a variety of nations. So, there are two types of companies that were owned. So, the United States owned companies and non-United States owned companies. So, under United States owned companies, there are Viacom, Disney, and AOL, Time Warner. For the non-United States owned companies, there are News Corp for the Australia, Bertelsmann for Germany, Reed Elsevier for Britain and Netherlands, Vivendi and Lagardère or Hachette for France, and Sony Corporations for Japan. So, what is media globalization? Media globalization is defined as the phenomenon of expanding multinational corporate media investments, resulting in the emergence of global oligarchy of first-tier corporations which own and operate a variety of mass media content and distribution technologies, which include television, radio, film, music, broadcasting, satellite, telecommunication, cable, newspapers, magazines, publishing companies, internet service providers, and other forms of converged digital media. So, according to Amnesty International on 2000, among the 100 largest companies in the world, 51 are global corporations and only 49 are countries. Thus, they are concerned that developing nations are losing their national sovereignty and that human rights violations are taking place. So, furthermore, the 1974 study of UNESCO, which was reviewed by McBride and Roach on 2000, demonstrated that there are few Western nations who control the international flow of television programs, with the United States, the United Kingdom, and the Federal Republic of Germany accounting for the largest shares during the 1980s. And developing nations have this prevailing policy of media deregulation, which further allows global corporations and other countries to private investment. So, to continue, according to Head, Spanner, and McGregor on 2001, privatization and deregulation gained momentum in Europe in the cable and telephone industries during the mid 1980s through foreign investments from companies such as Ameritech International, Deutsche Telekom, US West, and Bell Atlantic. Further, some nations has also allowed foreign investments in communications industries. However, critics of media globalization have long held that the United States is far too powerful and that it exercises cultural imperialism over smaller nations by overwhelming them with movies and television programs produced in the United States. Thus, the global sales of film, TV, and media products, along with the internet, bring people in developing countries into direct contact with Western media products. So, take for example the global reach of these companies, Disney, News Corporation, and Time Warner. So, their products are really seen globally, which are facilitated by satellite and the internet. Hence, it was argued that in today's increasingly globalized world, there is a danger that local cultures will become eroded and replaced with a single standard culture, and this phenomenon is known as the cultural homogenization. So, further, for the idea of Americanization, so according to Jaren and Meyer on 2000, so the idea of Americanization is a global media culture under Anglo-American leadership. So consider the film industry. Most of the big concerns have their place in the United States, and most movies in the cinema all over the world are produced in Hollywood. Therefore, there is no doubt that America has an influence on the world's population through movies. But not only movies, there is also American advertisement everywhere. And in a political economy perspective, the homogenization of culture and communication leads to shared values and ideologies among the viewers. Moreover, the United States dominates the world media by 85% of the global film market and 68% of the television market. On the other hand, in a cultural imperialism perspective, it was argued that American values and ideologies are imposed upon the rest of the world through media texts. So therefore, we can really say that media globalization is indeed a form of cultural imperialism. However, we cannot totally say that media globalization have a homogenizing effect in other countries, since there are other countries that have thriving movie industries of their own. So take for example India, Africa, and Japan. So moreover, the audience responses to globalized media are highly differentiated depending on which country they are viewing it. So these audiences are not just passive observers, but they are also capable of making their own judgments and attaching their own meaning to media text. So that would be all, and thank you so much for listening.